G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so very fantastic to see you. Today is just a quick video. I'll keep it as quick as I can. This is a lot of people have asked, how is it that I do the setup of the gear and what's my process? What software do I use? What cameras do I use? What lenses do I use to make these videos? So I thought I would go through a more technical version of that. So what we have here, we are actually shooting with my absolutely normal everyday rig, which is the Z6 with the 50mm 1.8. Absolutely gorgeous lens. Such good value for what you get out of that lens. I would recommend every Z user have that lens just because it's so good. Anyway, the 50mm 1.8. What I love about the 50mm 1.8 is you can throw the camera, and this is for video, you can throw the camera into DX mode and then suddenly it becomes a 75mm lens. You go from 50 to 75 with your 1.5 times crop. And that allows it to be very useful for video like this. Now, if you want to do more vlogging style and you want to hold it out in front of you, obviously you need a wider lens. And there's another cheeky lens that you can get, which is the one that I've popped on here. So this is to make this setup almost the same as that setup. This is the Z7 with the 35mm. Now the 35mm, when you multiply it with the crop and go to DX, becomes a 52mm lens, roughly. And so you can do exactly what you're doing here right now, what you can see right now, which is 50mm actual. This can be 50mm equivalent, give or take the tiniest amount of difference. Either go the 35 and then use it in DX, because there's really, to the best of my scrutiny over the last 2.5 years, there's really no penalty for jumping between full frame and DX on any of the cameras that I've used a lot, which are the Z6, the Z7, and the Z6 II. The Z6 II has the advantage of having 50 and 60 frames per second when you go into DX crop, but that's not what this video is about today. So Z6 is what I'm using. You could use the Z5. It does have some pros and cons. I use the Z6. It's now become my third camera with the Z7 and the Z6 II, and if I need a 3-camera shoot, which I do every now and again, then I take it off its mount and I use it. Otherwise, this camera is used every other day as a video camera, and it has been doing that for 2.5 years non-stop, and it's just going great, and I absolutely love it. Also, I'm shooting up here on the new 50mm macro. Not that this is 50mm macro photography, but again, if you wanted a second camera, this is the sort of lens that you might have. So I've got the Z6 II up there with the 50mm macro, or you could use the 105. I've also shot another video with the 105 macro being the over-the-shoulder camera. Also, in regards to the 50mm lens, these lenses are so good, and the focus tracking on my face is so good. Even with the original Z6, for this sort of scenario, no worries at all. I shoot on the Z6 and I often shoot it wide open at 1.8. We are wide open at 1.8 right now. Depends whether you want to invest that much, and it depends whether you want a multi-camera shoot. Anyway, what we're going to do here is start recording on the Ninja. Something that we love about the Nikon screens is that they are touch screens. So we can go into the menu area, and if we go into filming, these are my settings, and you can just scroll. You don't even have to touch any buttons. It's just up to what you like to do. But most of the time I am shooting at 4K, as we can see here now on the Atomos Ninja footage, and it's a great device. Whether you go the Blackmagic or this, these are great devices if you just want the capacity. Again, behind the scenes here, this is how I'm showing you how I do it. The way we record what's going on the monitor is via the Atomos Ninja. Anyway, what we can see here is I'm shooting 4K at 24p. So when I know that I'm not doing any slow motion stuff, I see no reason to shoot any higher. 24p is actually my favorite look. That's how I like things to look best. It's also a well-loved look, and guess what? It actually takes up less space than 25 frames, 30 frames, 50 frames, 60 frames. The less frames you have, the less you're storing. I'm not sure if Nikon say you're using one less frame, so we increase the bitrate ever so slightly. They might do that so the file sizes are identical. I haven't checked, but definitely between 30 frames, 50 and 60 frames, it would be less. Not much of a difference between 24 frames and 25 frames, but I just default to 24 because that's what we're used to from the motion picture industry for the last 100 or so years. And the next thing I want to talk about is focus sensitivity. So we're just going to record here on the Ninja again. Now, focus sensitivity is pretty important because what it does is it delineates how quickly the focus changes between, say, this and this. This and this. Now, in this scenario, I want it to be relatively smooth because we're in the studio and I want things to feel relaxing, but you can have it so it's instantaneous. It just flashes backwards and forwards. Now, where we do that, I'm going to show you right here. So we need to jump into the movie menu, and from there, that's G, we go to G4, which is AF speed. And what AF speed is how fast the lens changes from point A to point B. Slower being smooth, fast obviously being snappingly fast. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the actual focus mode that I'm in, and that's very straightforward. And we'll just do it down here actually. And here what we're doing is we're changing how the focus reacts if something comes between you and your subject. So we go to the A3 menu, focus tracking with lock on. And if you want the camera to react quickly, if say a stick, as you're panning and following a bird and a branch flies past, if you want it to find that branch, then you choose quick. If you don't want it to find that branch, then you choose delayed. Now, I do need to find out, what does delayed 5 mean? Is that 5 seconds before it reacts? Or just 5 units of whatever the units are? I will try and find out. And that's it. Choose what you want, depending on your use case. The next thing is in here, in the image size, obviously you can choose FX or DX, and that's just an inbuilt crop. So like I said, if you have a prime lens like this, you can go from 50 to 75 and get that extra reach, but you're still shooting in 4K. That's the beauty of these cameras and many other cameras, that you literally still get exactly the same, or you get the same image size. Maybe the quality varies ever so slightly, but as I've said, I haven't noticed it. And if this is the level of thing you're doing, corporate videos, whatever else, maybe you wouldn't shoot a motion picture jumping between these two. I don't know, but you know what? I still think you can. The first Pixar movie was shot at something lower than 4K, and we all loved it. So anyway, this is where I choose FX or DX. Right now we're shooting on FX. It is 50mm. The lens is what it should be. So let's choose that. Again, we're just using the touchscreen. Now, I always try to shoot at the base ISO because that's the way you get the cleanest image, so I'm always at 100. Next is the image profile. Now, Nikon have all these different image profiles, and they're fine, they're great, but unless you're shooting on flat, you don't have as much control to affect things in post. So I shoot it flat, it is flat, and then it's up to you as to how much zhuzhing you want to do. Do you want to add, and all I actually do, it's super simple. I add a little bit of contrast and I add a tiny bit of color. I absolutely do the most minimal color grade, and it looks great. I know a lot of channels will, do this orange and blue business, or make things look ultra contrasty or whatever. Ultimately, what I've found, the more you add filters, the more you lose actual information. So I'm most of the time wanting to just be able to see all the information in the frame, the dynamic range and color and so on. But again, that's subjective, and at times I will use filters, and I think it's something I want to experiment. I've been doing this for 30 odd years. Maybe I should start using filters. And the reason I haven't is because I started in the film days and I was developing under an enlarger. These were things that were simply not possible. So I became very used to, I take the image, I print the image, and it's done. There's no capacity to affect it beyond that. And that's still half of my photographic career. So anyway, flat profile, and then active D-lighting. It's a little bit of black magic here from Nikon. Whoops, that's the wrong touchscreen. I like to set it at high. That just increases our dynamic range. I don't think there's any right or wrong with the active D-lighting. You can choose where you want to go with that. Now, in regards to sound, microphone sensitivity, you can see the microphone is reacting to me right now. I've got this microphone here on the desk. It's about 35-40 centimeters from my face. I'm using the Rode wireless transmitter to get the signal to the camera. This is a really simple, basic, yet really powerful setup that I have been using a lot of lapel mics, but the problem with lapel mics is, depending on your t-shirt or whatever you're wearing and it's pointing, it actually changes the sound a little bit. You slowly try to improve everything on your channel, and ultimately I decided that this was easier. You don't have to take it on and put it on and take it off all the time and risk damaging it, as well as I think the quality from this microphone here, which is Rode's RTG microphone, released about 1.5 years ago. I think it's a really good microphone. People tried to tell me that the Nikon digital to analog converters, or analog to digital converters, where the sound came in, weren't any good. And it's because I didn't know what I was doing. I had the microphones turned down too low, and I had the signal turned up way too high, which of course that brought in background noise. I usually set the microphone on about 6 or 7. That's pretty low, and I've found that the quality of the sound is exceptional. I probably wouldn't set it to auto, because things can do their own thing. As we can see here, there is an auto setting. I would probably just keep it to manual and keep those numbers low. As you can see here, it goes all the way up until 20. But I keep it around 6 or 7. It depends on my microphones. They vary ever so slightly. So that's sound, and you've just got to it's important when you're learning about your sound. I've got quite a loud voice, so it's possible that your microphone and so on, your setup will be a little bit different. So I think it's really important to monitor yourself on headphones every now and again. I check my sound at least once a week to make sure just nothing randomly different has changed. Obviously, you see with your recorded footage straight away if there's a problem, but it's pretty annoying if you talk to camera for 15 minutes and you're not recording your sound, or there's something wrong, or it's too low, or there's a flat battery or whatever. So you've got to have ways of checking and so on. But that is the sound setup. We can see here that I'm shooting in high quality, but when you come to the settings that I've got, that's the only default you've got. I shoot in MOV rather than MP4. I'll jump to the post-production for a second. I edit on Final Cut Pro. Now, the reason I edit on Final Cut Pro is twofold. It was definitely easier and better to use a long time ago when Premiere first came out. Final Cut Pro did things differently and did it better. And I still think it's fantastic and super efficient. And the other reason is cost. With Final Cut Pro, you buy it once. That's it. You buy it once. That's it. Adobe's pricing, from my perspective, has become too expensive. I used to buy every second release the Adobe products, and I have been buying Photoshop since version 1. 1992, 1994, somewhere around that era, I've been giving Adobe money since then. And with the purchase, the upgrade approach, you could choose to upgrade every 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And I think that's fine and reasonable. You base it on your needs. With the subscription approach, you are absolutely forced to spend quite a lot of money. And you might just want to use a product once a week or once a month, not that often, but you're forced to continue to pay. So anyway, I don't want to deep dive into that too much. All I really want to say is Final Cut Pro is you buy it once. That's my basic setup. The other things that you might want to know about is I've obviously got the camera on a tripod. You don't have to have VR on. You could turn VR off to save batteries. No big deal. I just leave it on because it doesn't seem to make any difference when it's sitting on a tripod. You can work out the tripod for you. There's a bazillion tripods in the world. But what I've been working on lately is making my tripod system universal by using this Peak Design stuff. And no, I'm not paid by Peak Design. I don't work for them. I've never had any contact with them. But to have this universal thing, which is between my clip onto my body as well as go into the tripod, and it's just this little plate that just sits there all the time, well, that is an absolute win, and I'm super happy about that. So we've got a tripod. I do also have a monitor there to be able to monitor what I'm doing. I'm actually using an old computer monitor that cost me something like $180. It's just got a simple HDMI input, and that is working a treat. And the lighting that I'm using in this setup is the Elgato key lights. You can see it right here, this light here, there's one there. The reason I chose these is they're Wi-Fi controlled. You can control them from your phone and from your computer desktop. They're simple, they mount anywhere, they're relatively low powered, and when they're off, they just kind of disappear. I had no need for larger, more serious, much more expensive lighting. So Elgato key lights, I bought these near on 2 years ago, and yeah, I've been very happy with them. I've had zero problems with them. Very easy to set up, and I'll put links for all of these things in the show notes so you can check them out for yourself. I hope some of those things are useful to you if you're wanting to do this sort of thing, or it would be also the same if you were conducting an interview or whatever else. Anything where people are involved and you're in a static environment, those settings are going to work fine. I also use the same settings when I'm in the gallery or when I'm in the warehouse, the 3 different locations that I shoot most of the time. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I would love to hear any questions, comments. What do you do? Awesome. Fantastic to see you. If this is your first time here, I would love to see you again, so please do subscribe. Please share and please like, and don't forget there's over 300 episodes just down there that you can watch right now. Jump on our website, grab a print, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Yes, the 50mm review is coming. It's coming. I feel a great deal of responsibility right now. Okay, bye.